What is up, my dudes? So, software engineers seem to have every name under the freaking sun when it comes to, you could be computer programmer, software developer, coding ninja, unicorn, 10x unicorn, or probably worst of all, billionaire. And the weird thing about this is you wouldn't call a chef a cutter, you wouldn't call a metal worker a hammerer, but for some reason we find that it's okay to call an engineer a coder. It's not just the only thing that we care about. And it doesn't really convey the level of care and consideration that goes into our craft. So this is why I think that software engineers should be modeled after craftsmen. So what makes a craftsman? Now, if you look it up and Google it, a craftsman is just a person who's skilled in the craft, which is one of those like useless definitions. But uh, craft is actively involved in making things by hand, and when we think about it, we can kind of break it down into three different things that are required. There's a raw materials, there's a workbench, and there are some tools, and the application of those tools is skills. So what is the raw material for a software engineer? What are we taking and transforming into something else? So, um, as an example, for a chef, this would be fruit, vegetables, meat, and they would transform it into a meal. For a software engineer, we're just transforming some plain text into some other form of plain text. It's just data that we're transforming from one place to another. And there are certain rules that are associated with that. So we've got our raw material now. Now we have to figure out, okay, what is our workbench? And this workbench is supposed to be some sort of space that is optimized for an individual to work. And for a chef, that would just be their kitchen. But for a software engineer, the workspace would be their computer and the subsequent operating system and provided shell. So my workbench might be Windows, someone else's workbench might be Macs. Um, don't have to get too semantic about it, but just kind of like realizing the analogies there. So then once we move on, we have tools, and for a chef, the most iconic of those tools would be the knife. For a software engineer, the most important tool would be their text editor and their ability to actually manipulate text. In addition, another very important tool would be Mountain Dew. Those are the things that you need to be able to fuel your late night hacking sessions. Moving on, uh, how can we apply these tools? Well, we have skills, and for a chef, there'd be something like cutting skills, like being able to julienne, dice, or chop. And for us, it's just being able to manipulate text in as short a period of time as possible. Kind of like how our brain thinks the text should look. How long does it take for us to get to that on a screen? So, why should anyone care? Why should anyone care that we consider ourselves a craft? And I think it helps in frame the importance of our work. For a cook, this can be felt the same way, where it's the difference between you're just taking a ticket, you're making some food, and then you're repeating for 6 to 8 hours. Software engineering in the workforce can be very similar. It's just take a ticket, make a change, and repeat. And while it might be romanticizing, it does help an individual frame their importance as being related to their overall craft, not just a cog in a business machine. So, for example, when a craftsman does not have the skills or the tools that they need to solve a problem, that is when they start looking for skills that they need. So when writing this, I had to indent multiple lines at once, and I went searching in my text editor for multi-line select, a skill that I knew existed but I've never needed before, and I learned it, and now it is one of the tools in my repertoire. Um, and I find that when my tools aren't cutting it for the particular problem, I am letting that need drive tool acquisition. And there's kind of like this certain care and consideration that's injected to your work when you think yourself as representing your craft. You're a workman in a workshop that is working diligently to perfect the thing that they're working on. And I just kind of hope that this gives a lens into how you might view your job as a craftsman, if you're a software engineer or computer scientist. Because I think that there are a lot of benefits to it, but let me know if you think that I'm full of it here. Do you think that we're considered one of the modern set of craftsmen? If so, does this lens help you view your day-to-day job differently? Um, and if you don't think that we're craftsmen, why do you think that we shouldn't be considered this way? So let me know in the comment section below.